Well, St. Bartholomew's, it is finally Maundy Thursday, and I am at the rectory at the desk where I've been saying my prayers during this time of isolation. I've got a little bit of incense burning back here, which I do typically when I pray to set the mood, and a cup of coffee. This is just a chance for us to reflect at midday before we begin the Sacred Triduum, which begins tonight. There's a guy named James Maundy who wrote a book about this week that said that it was within the ambit of 3 days, just 72 hours, that the greatest events of our redemption were accomplished. And this begins those 72 hours, our commemoration of them, our participation in them even. And this day is Maundy Thursday. You probably know, you should know, that Maundy Thursday, our liturgy that we would typically do on Maundy Thursday night, has three distinct parts. First of all, it is the institution of the Eucharist. So it's a celebration or a feast that commemorates God in the form of man and Jesus, giving his followers this meal by which we remember him and make him present and participate in his life. Also, it is then comes the Maundy, which we'll talk about in just a minute, the washing of the feet. And then finally, the last part is the watch. That has stripping of the altar, the removing Jesus's body, or taking the reserved sacrament to the altar of repose to sit and watch with him that night. So I want to look very briefly at each of the three and then think about this year, what we're doing. So the reading for today is from Luke 22. It's the institution of the Lord's Supper. It says, when the hour came, he took his place at the table and the apostles with him. He said to them, I have eagerly desired to eat this Passover with you before I suffer. For I tell you, I will not eat it until it is fulfilled in the kingdom of God. So he's taking this meal, this familiar ritual meal, and making it a framework for understanding what's going on in their lives and in his. He took a cup. After giving thanks, he said, take this, divide it among yourselves. For I tell you that from now on I will not drink of the fruit of the vine until the kingdom of God comes. And then he took a loaf of bread, and when he'd given thanks, he broke it and gave it to them, saying, this is my body, which is given for you. Do this in remembrance of me. And he did the same with the cup after supper, saying, this cup that is poured out for you is the new covenant in my blood. And then he predicts the betrayal, and the rest of the meal goes forward. So this is the first part of the service that we keep on Maundy Thursday, the institution of the Eucharist, this meal that Jesus shared with his followers, a Passover meal, reinterpreted not just as a framework for understanding his crucifixion, but actually as a way to be healed, to be renewed, to be transformed, even to be perfected in a way. This is more than memory. This is, the Greek word is anamnesis. It is a remembering forward, making of an event, moving from the past and bringing it into the present, and remembering it, putting back together, making Jesus present in the elements, the precious body, the blessed sacrament, which is his body, and the precious blood. And so the service often begins with joy. We ring bells and we have the organ, the Gloria is sung. And then after that, the bells are put away, not to be heard again until Easter Vigil on Saturday night. And we move toward this deadly, serious solemnity. And that's when Jesus enacts a parable. He takes a basin and a towel, and the parable is to demonstrate, to make visible what he is commanding them. The word Maundy it's from mandatum, means commandment. This is the new commandment I give you, that you love each other the way I'm loving you. And to demonstrate it, he takes a basin and a towel and washes their feet, the greatest among them becoming the servant of all. Many of us, I think this is our favorite service of the year, St. Bartholomew's, and we're incredibly sad to miss that this year. But you should know that Jesus shares that feeling and knows that feeling as he was serving them that night, as he was washing their feet, as he went toward the garden and toward betrayal and his trial. He was entering the greatest isolation anyone in the world has ever known. Even isolated in some way, he was separate from, he was God forsaken in a way that is mysterious and incomprehensible to us. That's why when we say the Stations of the Cross, we repeat that that portion, that lamentation. Is there any sorrow like my sorrow? See if there's any sorrow like mine. And then finally, after the towel and the basin have been put away, we begin the watch with stripping the altar. We move with him toward the garden where he will be betrayed, and the altar of repose where we are asked, could you not keep watch with me just 1 hour? Just 1 hour. And then after the stillness of the night, it is Friday when God dies. Obviously, this year will be different. We're not able to keep these liturgies the way that we want. And so we've made thanks to St. Bartholomew's, thanks to the work of my friend Mother Beth Maynard and her reliance on somebody else's work and their reliance on somebody else's, we've put together a small booklet called the Triduum at Home, which I think is probably backwards in your video because I can't figure out how to make the words look the right way. But it's 3 liturgies, one for tonight, Maundy Thursday, one for Good Friday, and then a simplified Easter vigil for us to share on Saturday night. And tonight's liturgy, if you download this book from our website, it tells you to keep many of the elements that we would be keeping in our time together at the church. We ask you to build a sacred space, almost an altar in your own home, and to put different things in that space that are meaningful to you and that represent what this week is all about. And then we have readings that we share together and prayers. And then tonight's is based around a very simple meal. We have some blessings over wine and bread over the other parts of the meal. And after the meal is done, then we enter into the greater silence of the night. We ask that you take away, you do something like a stripping of the altar by removing things from the holy place that you have, that you've built, and then enter into that silence, watching with Jesus. As you say your prayers this night, it is as if we were watching with him. And then we will come back together tomorrow for Midday. My wife and I are going to walk through Stations of the Cross online, I think at 2:30, and then do something called the tolling of the 9 tailors. It's a way of ringing the bell to signal someone's death at 3 o'clock, the time Jesus died. And then tomorrow night, there's another simple liturgy in our book, St. Bartholomew's Triduum at Home. These are the great 72 hours. There's a quote from St. Ephrem who said, go, my brother, go forward, and with all the love of your soul, follow Christ wheresoever he may go. And so my brothers and my sisters, go into this week and follow Christ wherever he may go, because he goes there for you and for me. Tonight, the Triduum begins. God bless you.